Over the last few years, one of the biggest technologies in the world has been artificial intelligence. And as a recently graduated computer science major, I have had a front seat to seeing this technology develop into what it is now. And I've come to the conclusion that artificial intelligence in its current form and how it's being used by all the corporations and companies and even the governments around the world, it's harmful to humanity. It's detrimental to society. You know, as I was in school and throughout the years, I saw AI creep into every facet of my education. Whenever I first started school in fall of 2022, ChatGPT had just released publicly. I believe it was November 2022, I want to say. Because I remember where I was when it happened. I was in class and I remember looking it up because I was so interested in the tool. I was like, okay, this could be interesting. Like, this could actually help people in the future, right? And then I saw all of my classmates or, my friends use it in order to cheat on their homework and on their exams and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay. This is just going to be another tool used to, increase cheating in academia. And at first, whenever it came out, my professors, they were against it. Like in our syllabi, they laid out that, oh yeah, using AI was an act of academic dishonesty, right? And so obviously you would receive a 0 on the assignment or have the possibility of being removed from the class. It was a big deal at first. But as time went on, my professors started to get more lenient with the use of AI, allowing us to use it for code and things like that. And I admit, I've used AI here and there in my past in order to create code if I was in a pinch, right? As time has gone on, I've started to realize that AI really messes with people's critical thinking. And there are studies to prove this, right? One study in particular that stands out to me is one that MIT did in 2025, where they had 3 groups of people write practice SAT essays. One of those groups used Google as a resource, another group had nothing to work with as a resource, and the last group used ChatGPT as a resource. And throughout their study, they found that the group that used ChatGPT had the lowest brain engagement. With each subsequent essay they wrote, they got lazier and lazier, often resorting to copying and pasting the entire text from ChatGPT onto their essay. And this is just in terms of academia, right? Like if we look at the people who are constantly using these AI tools to think and act for them, like asking it for advice or trying to search up things, using it as a search engine instead of using Google, which also now has AI feature. Like every time you search something, it'll give you the AI pop up instead of the actual websites now, which also worries me. But yeah, it just shows you how when you have tools that think for you, it decreases your critical thinking. You're not thinking for yourself. You're leaving it up to the tool to do things for you. And as a result, we will lose aspects of our thinking and our thought processes and how we come to new ideas and things like that. It'll also just make us lazier. When you're not thinking, it's like when you're not reading, right? When you don't read books, over time, you lose parts of your gray matter and things like that within your brain, right? If you're not using your brain, you're losing your gray matter in your brain, which helps you with memory and thinking and all types of things. It just makes me worry about the future of knowledge-heavy fields, like being a doctor or being a pilot or, being a lawyer, things like that, that require a lot of knowledge, a lot of memory in order to sustain that career. And so, like in the future, I'm gonna be thinking when I go to the doctor, oh man, I hope my doctor wasn't using ChatGPT to learn everything, Oh, I hope they weren't doing this and that. I hope they weren't cheating on everything and they didn't actually learn anything and they're about to, work on me or other people. It could get dangerous at that point. It could lead to malpractice. I don't know. That's just something I think about in my head when it comes to AI tools like this. The second point I want to make is that AI is already stealing people's jobs. Corporations are starting to replace workers with AI. We've seen this at Amazon. We've seen this with Klarna. We've seen this at several companies at this point where they are trying to get cheap and free labor, which is what corporations always want, right? They always want to make sure that the bottom line is up. They always got to make sure that they're profiting. And so, as a means to do that, they'll lay off actual human workers in order to replace them with AI. One statistic that stands out to me and that honestly kind of scares me, especially being in the computer science field myself as a data analyst, is that Goldman Sachs predicts that AI could replace 300 million jobs by 2030. And 2030 isn't that far from now. You know, blink and it'll be here. That's only in 4 years, right? That's around 9% of the global workforce. That's a lot of people that are going to lose their jobs. That's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to provide for their families. You know, these companies, they don't really care about people, right? They only care about the money. And as a means to get more money, they will get rid of us. AI has allowed them to do that. AI has allowed them to carry out that mission of ultimate profit if it works out, right? If the bubble doesn't pop. The third point I want to make specifically ties into generative AI in terms of photo and video generation. And it's that deepfakes are getting so realistic that it could lead to mass derealization and hysteria around the world. Looking at deepfakes nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between those and reality. You know, AI is really starting to blur that line between fiction and reality. And I think that's a scary thing because people are already gullible, right? People can already be easily fooled. But with AI, photos and videos that look so real, things are only going to get worse. Who knows what this could lead to? It's already being used for propaganda. It's already being used to uphold harmful ideologies. It's already being used to uphold stereotypes. I know there were the videos of the black people with like the EBT cars fighting each other and stuff like that. And that was all AI. It's all about design. It's gonna become the greatest psyop ever, you know? That's the potential it has. And when you put this powerful technology in the hands of the wrong people, bad things are gonna happen. Even outside of propaganda, let's think about adult content, right? Or pornography. There are already deep fakes being made of people without their consent, both adults and minors, right? Even on Twitter, right? One of the biggest social media platforms in the world, Grok, the AI assistant on there, has been declothing minors. It's already been making explicit content of minors. And that's landed Elon in some hot water in some places like France. I know they were looking into it, but he's basically just getting away with it. And yeah, they've acknowledged, oh yeah, Grok wasn't supposed to be doing that, this and that. But people are still using it to declothe people. People are still using it to make porn out of people without their consent. That's just on Twitter. Everywhere now on the internet, there's AI porn. And who's to say that, you know, things will change in this regard? Who's to say that regulations will happen? Because so far, there are basically no regulations on the use of AI. Now I'm thinking about like crimes, right? Or in the justice system. Let's say that someone got framed for doing something that they've never done and it's on video, but the video is AI generated and there's no way to tell that the video is AI generated, right? Let's think about that. Someone could potentially get framed for a crime they never even committed. I know there are lawyers out there thinking about this and how they're even going to tackle something like this. This is why regulations need to come into the picture when it comes to AI. Because when it's unregulated like this, it's like the Wild West. You can just do whatever you want, and it's going to ruin people's lives. The final point I want to make in this video is that AI data centers are destroying the environment. This is a matter of fact. Just look at how much water they use, right? We're already in a global water bankruptcy. And AI data centers continue to burn millions of gallons of water every day. Every day. And that's just water, right? Let's talk about electricity. When these AI data centers are being built in communities and in people's backyards, it drives up electric prices for everyone. We have to pay for their data centers, even though no one asked for it. That's why you're seeing protests in places like Indiana and things like that, where people are protesting against the data centers being built because they are harming our communities. I know the one in Memphis. I remember seeing this news story about it, the one I believe that Elon has there, how it's making the quality of air worse in black communities around there. It's actively killing people. And it's not going to happen all at once, obviously. It's going to be slow and over time, but the effects are real. As AI is being forced into every piece of technology we use, we have to find ways to fight back against it. We have to continue to protest against these data centers. We have to continue to boycott all of these AI chatbots in these companies like OpenAI. And we have to forge a path for us to get back to human-centered things that we create, things that we produce, and things that we share with each other. AI can't do that for us. It can only bring us down as a collective. And I'm not saying that AI can't be used for anything good in the world, right? Like, obviously it has potential to be used in medicine, science, things of that nature to actually help people. But once corporations got a hold of it, it was over. That was it, I mean, we're at the point now where the government is using AI within the Pentagon for weapons and surveillance and things like that. Does that not scare you? I hope so. If it doesn't scare you, then what reality are you living in? You're living in a different reality than the rest of us. Because I think that's fucking frightening. But that's just me. It's been a hard time being a computer science major over the last few years because, AI is the biggest technology in our field right now. And if you aren't on board with it, it kind of makes you seem like you're an outcast in the major. But I don't care at this point. It's just it's done so much harm to people, and it'll only continue to be used for greed and for monetization instead of actually helping people. It'll only be used to make our environment worse instead of actually making things better for us and making energy more green and more usable for everyone. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. I hope y'all are doing well in life, and feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this. Also, feel free to leave a comment about your stance on AI, and I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you all for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves and do great things every day.